بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والحمد لله رب العالمين بارئ الخلائق أجمعين باعث الأنبياء والمرسلين ثم الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء وسيد المرسلين حبيب إله العالمين المصطفى أبي القاسم محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المنتجبين الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد ولعنة الله على أعدائهم أجمعين إلى قيام يوم الدين أما بعد فقد قال الله تبارك وتعالى في كتابه المجيد وقرآنه الحميد وقوله الحق أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اليوم أكملت لكم دينكم وأتممت عليكم نعمتي ورضيت لكم الإسلام دينا صدق الله العلي العظيم صلوا على محمد وآل محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد This ayah, number 3 of Surah Al-Ma'idah, was revealed after the event of Eid al-Ghadir, the event of Ghadir, when the Prophet ﷺ declared Amir al-Mu'mineen salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayhi as the Khalifa, official Khalifa of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi, the leader and the master of the Muslims after him. And this was on the 18th day of the month of the Hijjah in the year 10 after Hijrah. About 100,000 Muslims approximately were present on that day at the event of Ghadir, few days after the final Hajj of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam, Hajjatul Wada'. And those Muslims were told to come and pledge their allegiance to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. And the famous tradition of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi, which is narrated by all Muslims, Shi'is and Sunnis. Man kuntu mawlah فهذا علي مولاه اللهم والي من والاه وعادي من عاداه وانصر من نصره واخذل من خذله. Whomever I am his master, Ali is also his master. O Allah, support those who support him, go against those who go against him, befriend those who befriend him, and make those who take him as an enemy as your enemies, Ya Allah. What's important about the ayah says, الْيَوْمَ أَكْمَلْتُ لَكُمْ دِينَكُمْ. Today I have completed the religion for you. This completion comes with the imamah. Religion of Islam, it is not just about salat and siyam. Religion of Islam, it's a way of life. Therefore, if you look at the books of fiqh, there is a section called Babul Ibadat, Ahkamul Ibadat. For example, Ahkam of Tahara, how you do wudu, how did you do ghusl, etc., etc. Ahkamul Salat, Ahkamul Zakat. These are all ibadat, acts of worship. Ahkamul Siyam. Then there is another section called Mu'amalat. Mu'amalat, ahkamul mu'amalat, dealing with people. Because we live in a society, we live not in isolation, we live amongst people. So how do we deal with people? For example, part of that section is contracts. What is a contract? How do you make a contract? Does it have to be written? Can it be verbal, for example? All this is a way of dealing with people. Marriage. How do you get married? Divorce. What are the requirements? All these are there about interaction. The religion of Islam is a comprehensive religion. Comprehensive. It deals with every aspect of life. including the political aspect. Islam has politics. Indeed, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam became the head, the master of a community, of a society, of a nation. So how did he deal with this community as a leader, a political leader? Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam became a political leader. So how did he deal with it? So there's politics in Islam. Finances, there is a financial system in Islam. The entire financial system, because once you become a leader of a community, of a society, how are you going to make your ends meet? So there's a whole financial system, which is unique about Islam, by the way, brothers and sisters. You'd rarely find a system, a religion that has such a comprehensive system. For example, even those that claim spirituality, like Buddhism, you go to Buddhism, tell them, show me a political system. They say, this is not our business. It's our spirituality. Okay. But when it comes to politics, that's not what we deal with. Isa ibn Maryam, ala nabiyyina wa alihi wa alayhi salam, one of ulil azm, great prophet of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but he never became a political leader. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi became a political leader. Amir al-Mu'minin alayhi salam became a political leader. So therefore, there are all these aspects. One of those aspects of Islam is the psychology as well, psychological aspects. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created the human being, and He knows that the human being has certain needs, emotional needs, physical needs, and among those needs are psychological needs. Tonight, if Allah gives us tawfiq, very briefly, we'll go over some of the psychology that is found in Nahj al-Balaghah. Very briefly, we'll just take a look at 4 points briefly. The idea is to show you, brothers and sisters, that Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam touched upon every aspect of religion, which is every aspect of life. So when the ayah says, Al-Yawma akmaltu lakum dinakum, today I have completed my religion or the religion for you, this completion comes with the imamah from all dimensions and facets. Yani with the religion of Islam, if we need help, financial system, Islam gives us that finance. But who gives us that financial system? Rasulullah and the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam. If we leave the Ahlul Bayt, it becomes incomplete. If you remember yesterday, do you remember I said, with the Imams, how many more years do we have in addition to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi? Almost, yes, exactly. If you include al-Ghaybat al-Sughra, then yes. Without al-Ghaybat al-Sughra, 250 years. Without al-Ghaybat al-Sughra. 250 years of Sunnah from the Imams alayhimus salam. That's a lot of wealth of Sunnah traditions from the Imams alayhimus salam. If we cut that off, what happens? We just cut off ourselves from 250 years of traditions and Sunnah from the Ma'sumin alayhimus salam. So, this is inshallah what we want to get at. Let's start with it. In Nahjul Balaghah, there are several points where the Imam Salamullah alayhi touches upon very important points. These points, interestingly, if you take a look at them, they are very contemporary points, but the packaging is different. Today they put different, for example, a terminology for it, different slogan for it. But if you go to the roots, the essence, Imam Ali alayhi salam has spoken about it more than 1400 years ago. For example, when it comes to the effect of a group on people, the Imam Salamullahi alayhi one day took Kumail ibn Ziyad, the one who narrated Dua Kumail for us, with him to the cemetery. And he started speaking to him. He said, Ya Kumail, inna hadihi al-qulub aw'iya wa khayruha aw'aha. These hearts are like containers, and the best of them is the one that can take the most. So then he tells him, Ya Kumail, an-nasu thalatha, alimun rabbani. People, he categorizes people into 3 categories. What are these 3? Let's take a look at those 3 categories. Alimun rabbani, a scholar who is on the Sirat al-Mustaqim, yani he knows the path. This at the time of the Ma'soom is the Ma'soom himself. Today it is Maraji' al-Taqleed who follow the path of the Ma'soomin. Hafidhahumullah wa ra'ahum. Those great scholars. Alim Rabbani. Okay, so that's one. So you should become a Alim Rabbani. Or, what's the second category? Muta'allimun ala sabili najat. Learning someone he's not a alim, which is most of us. Most of us, we're not ulama, we're not scholars. We learn from the alim, from the ulama. Why do we learn? Because we want to save our dunya and our akhirah. We want to have a successful life in dunya and in the akhirah. So we learn the ahkam, we learn the aqaid, we learn from those ulama so that we can inshallah benefit and advance. Okay, that's good. So these are the two categories that are important. Comes the third category. همج رعاع أتباع كل ناعق يميلون مع كل ريح. همج رعاع. همج حمقى يعني أجلكم الله. يعني people who are idiots. This is what the Imam uses. Idiots. رعاع. رعاع means they don't have a say of their own. أتباع كل ناعق. They follow every trend. Whatever fashion comes, they go with the flow. And they go with every, wind. You know what? The currents go this way, they go this way. The currents go this way, they go this way. Yani they don't have an opinion of their own. In Arabic, they call such a person imma'a. رجل imma'a. يعني ما عنده قرار. He has no opinion of his own. He just goes with the flow. And how many people do we see as such? How many people we see as such? A lot of people, surprisingly. So many people. I remember when I mentioned this last night, when ISIS came into Iraq and, they started attacking and taking over, people started screaming, where is the Marja'iyya? Where is the Marja'iyya? Let the Marja'iyya help us. Where is the Sayyid? Where are the ulama? Okay, so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made the Maraji' then a means to save the country, walhamdulillah, and defend the land. All right. Few years later, they come out on the streets. What is this Marja'iyya? They dictate to us whatever we do. We have to follow them. We want to be liberal. We want to be liberate. Just a few days ago, you guys just went out saying, where is the Marja'iyya? We need their help. We need their support. And now, you see, a lot of people, surprisingly, in society, a lot of people like this. They go with the flow. And if I want to use political examples, I can use many political examples, contemporary political examples. Yani things you will relate to. But you see people, mashallah, someone coming, especially in some, mashallah, some countries. In some countries, you find someone coming out in a campaign. People, yes, hey, we cheer for him. And then a few years later, no, they cheer against him. They go with someone else. And they go with that person. And so on and so forth. That's in terms of politics. But in terms of religion, it's also very serious. Today, brothers and sisters, we have people, so-called influencers, on TikTok and on social media, influencers. Okay. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah, influencers. Okay. You guys are laughing now. Okay. So these influencers, literally, they have millions of followers. Okay. You look into their credentials, no credentials. Okay. Somebody follows a doctor, for example, a cardiologist, tells him, okay, this cardiologist comes and he says, I'll give you health tips about how to maintain a healthy heart. Okay, that's good. He's an expert in this field, and I can follow him and learn from him in this particular field. Good. Somebody who specializes, for example, in child psychology, and he's teaching us, a mu'min and specializes in child psychology, teaches us about how to upbring our children, etc. Okay, he's an expert in this field. I'll listen to him in that field. But there comes someone who actually has absolutely no idea about this whole world, but knows how to talk. They're good talkers. Good talkers and good actors. These days, acting is not you have to go to Hollywood. MashaAllah, it's all over YouTube. Anybody can become an actor these days. Okay. And they may even have more followers than the actual actors, and the actresses, these guys. And they come up with strange trends. You remember the ice cube trend? You know, that ice water bucket trend, and how many people used to fall into that and got killed because of that. And then people just follow, blindly follow. I had one day I had a few mu'minat come to me and they say, Shaykh, I was in a particular area, in a particular country. They said there is a trend now among young ladies, unfortunately, taking off the hijab. Why? Because some influencer on social media took off the hijab. Khalas. They went with the flow. Okay, where is your aql? Where's your brain? Okay, she took off the hijab. Does that mean khalas, you go with the flow? Okay, ask yourself. Okay, she's wrong. What she's doing is not right. Who should I please? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or follow this influencer who doesn't even know what's right and what's wrong and what's haqq and what's batil? But unfortunately, this is the sad reality today. We have so many people watching these videos and mimicking them, imitating them, the way they dress, their hair, their styles, their makeup, their whatever. Khalas, they go with the flow. Just go with the flow. This is what the Imam is referring to. This is the effect of a group effect. Okay. Interestingly, the Quran refers to this. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah Al-Muddathir says, كُلُّ نَفْسٍ بِمَا كَسَبَتْ رَهِينَ إِلَّا أَصْحَابَ الْيَمِينَ في جنات يتساءلون عن المجرمين ما سلككم في سقر. On the day of judgment, the people who go to Jannah, they are surprised. They're surprised at the people who ended up in Jahannam. Because they say, with all Allah's rahmah, with all Allah's forgiveness, with all Allah's mercy, how did you guys end up in Jahannam? Because now they're in Jannah, they've seen Allah's mercy, Allah's forgiveness, Allah's rahmah, subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's why, interestingly, الشيء بالشيء يذكر. قيل للإمام زين العابدين السجاد عليه السلام, Imam al-Sajjad was told, Al-Hasan al-Basri, Hasan al-Basri says, this was not a follower of Ahlul Bayt alayhim as-salam. He was a alim, but not from the school of Ahlul Bayt. Hasan al-Basri says, ما عجبت لمن هلك كيف هلك ولكن عجبت لمن نجا كيف نجا. I'm not surprised at the one who ended up in Jahannam, how he ended up in Jahannam. With all the desires and the temptations and all that, I'm not surprised. I'm surprised at the ones who end up in Jannah, how they made it up into Jannah. Someone came and told the Imam, Salamullah alayhi, Imam al-Sajjad, he says, this is what Al-Hasan al-Basri says. Imam al-Sajjad alayhi salam told him, هذا ما يقوله البصري. This is what he says. What I say. هذا قول الله عز وجل. This is what he says. كلام أهل البيت عليهم السلام. عجبت لمن هلك كيف هلك. ما عجبت لمن نجا كيف نجا. I'm not surprised at the one who ends up in Jannah, how he ends up in Jannah. Because Allah is so forgiving. Allah is so merciful. Allah is so compassionate. Ra'uf, Rahim. Allah wants any excuse to take you to Jannah. That's really the essence of it. Allah does not want, He did not create us to put us in the hellfire. We choose to go to the hellfire. That's why He gave us so many incentives. You do one good deed, I'll multiply it by 10 for you. You do one Laylatul Qadr, I'll multiply it by 80 years for you. More than 80 years. You do this good deed, I'll forgive you. You do that good deed, I will delete your sins. And so on. إِنَّ الْحَسَنَاتِ يُذْهِبْنَ السَّيِّئَاتِ. Good deeds will delete. Yani Allah really is pushing us, go to Jannah. Just do some good deeds and khalas. Do the basics and that's it. But we choose to go to Jahannam. So the Imam is saying, with all Allah's rahmah, how do people end up in Jahannam? Yani really surprising how, yani really people put in effort to go to Jahannam. Put in a lot of effort to go to Jahannam. Otherwise, Jannah is very easy to attain. Just do the basics, the wajibat, and stay away from the muharramat. Anyways, so those mu'mineen on the day of judgment who end up in Jannah, Ashabul Yameen, are asking the people of Jahannam, how did you end up in Jahannam? Look at what they say. Listen to what they say. قالوا لم نكن من المصلين. We did not pray. That's one. So that's one thing. That's why salat is so important. 2. وَلَمْ نَكُنْ نُطْعِمُ الْمِسْكِينَ. We did not care about people and feeding the hungry and all that. Who cares? As long as we are fed and we're looked after, we don't care about anyone else. 3. This is the important. وَكُنَّا نَخُوضُ مَعَ الْخَائِضِينَ. We used to go with every flow. همج رعاع. نخوض مع الخائضين. We used to sit down, whatever people talk, we go with the fashion, we go with the trends. Okay. 4, وَكُنَّا نُكَذِّبُ بِيَوْمِ الدِّينِ. And we used to belie the day of judgment. Day of judgment? Nonsense. خلاص, just this dunya and that's it. Until what? حَتَّى أَتَانَا الْيَقِينَ. Until death came upon us. اليقين يعني الموت هنا. Until death befell upon us. Such people, وَالْعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ, such people, Allah says, فَمَا تَنْفَعُهُمْ شَفَاعَةُ الشَّافِعِينَ. Those people, shafa'a will not help them. There's no shafa'a for such people. وَالْعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ. Okay. But ayat in the Quran, you can see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, in another ayat, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions about certain people, وَإِذَا قِيلَ لَهُمُ اتَّبِعُوا مَا أَنزَلَ اللَّهِ قَالُوا بَلْ نَتَّبِعُ مَا أَلْفَيْنَا عَلَيْهِ آبَاءَنَا أَوَلَوْ كَانَ آبَاؤُهُمْ لَا يَعْقِلُونَ شَيْئًا وَلَا يَهْتَدُونَ. In Surah Al-Baqarah, ayah 170. When you tell them believe in Allah, they will say, no, we'll just follow whatever our parents used to follow, whatever our forefathers. Allah says, what if the forefathers did not really understand the truth? You blindly just follow? Follow the haqq. Follow the haqq. That's why on the day of the battle of Siffin, Al-Jamal, on the battle of Al-Jamal, a man came, he looks to the side, he sees the wife of the Prophet, Sahaba of the Prophet. He looks on this side, he says, Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam, and the Sahaba of the Prophet, Sahaba here, Sahaba there. He became confused. Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam noticed, قال يا هذا إنك لمغلوب عليك لا يعرف الحق بالرجال اعرف الحق تعرف أهله. He says, listen, you're getting confused. You don't judge justice and the truth against people. You judge people against the truth. People can change. Yes, this Zubair used سيف طالما كشف الكرب عن وجه رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله. Zubair was with the Prophet in all the battles, or many of the battles. He was a brave man. Zubair, Imam Ali alayhi salam says in Nahj al-Balaghah, لا زال الزبير منا أهل البيت حتى نشأ ولده المشؤوم عبد الله. Zubair was of us, Ahlul Bayt. He was the cousin of Imam Ali from his aunt Safiya. His aunt Safiya, the mother of Zubair, is the aunt of Imam Ali alayhi salam and the Prophet. Cousin. Yani he is Hashimi from his mother's side. Zubair. Brave. Good man. Imam Ali says he was of us Ahlul Bayt until his wicked son, Mash'um, Imam Ali alayhi salam says, grew up. The son deviated the father, wal-'iyadu billah. Yani it's good to love your children, but not to the point where they take you off the sirat al-mustaqim. There has to be limits. إِنَّهُ لَيْسَ مِنْ أَهْلِكَ. بعد خلاص, when he became a deviant, he's no longer your son. Allah tells Nuh, ala nabiyina wa alihi wa alayhi salam. So here, Imam Ali alayhi salam is saying, don't go with the group just for the sake of the group. Interestingly, today, well, not today, recently, in the 1930s, so we're talking about almost 100 years ago, there was a German-American psychologist, very famous. His name is Kurt Lewin. Kurt Lewin came up with a theory called the group dynamics theory. What is group dynamic theory? He says the action of an individual is different when he's put as a part of the group. When you're part of a group, you start behaving differently from being an individual. For example, I'll give you an example that we relate to, but then I'll use some of his examples as well. On Laylatul Qadr, just a few nights ago, those of you who stayed with us, those of you, Jazakumullah khaira, may Allah give you the ajr and thawab, may Allah accept from us, inshaAllah. We stayed. We started reading the du'as, the a'mal. Some of you, mashallah, stayed until du'a Abu Hamza al-Thumali. If you were by yourself at home doing the a'mal, you would probably say, I would probably not have done many of this. Yani maybe I would have done raf'ul masahif, putting the Quran on my head, pray 2 rak'at salat, and that's it. But to sit down reading du'a Jawshan, du'a Abu Hamza, du'a Tawbah, du'a... Where did you get that energy from? The group. The group is doing it, so as a group, you go with the group. And it gives that momentum, it gives that energy to do things in a group. That's something you can relate to. An individual versus a group. Kurt Lewin, for example, that's why it's good to come and do the a'mal as a group. In the Husayniyah, for example, last night we read Dua Kumail. Dua Kumail in the Husayn. We were here, we read Dua Kumail. Whereas those people who may have been at home, you may not have read Dua Kumail, for example. So, Kurt Lewin, what he did a couple of experiments. One experiment, what he did, he contacted some big corporations in his time. And he said to some corporations, he said, I want you to send me 2 of your managers, big leaders, like CEO or something, but 2. Other corporations, he said, I want you to send only 1. So they sent. He said, we're going to do training for them. Training, some kind of consulting, free, about leadership training. How to enhance your production and maximize your profits. He said, okay, great, this sounds good. And he's a professor at the university, he's a psychologist, so people started sending. Companies started sending. Some had 2, some had 1. He gave the seminar, then he went back. They went back. He started observing, without telling the companies, which companies showed more profits, which companies implemented the strategies to increase their profits. He noticed that the companies that sent 2 had more profit than the companies that sent 1. And he says, it's because there is 2 of them. There was a group in this time of 2 people. When you have a group, then it has a bigger effect. The one by himself, did not have as much of an effect. He then went to some schools. He went to some classrooms, and he went to some children that were some troublemakers. He took them out from the school. He put them in a different school that did not have many troublemakers. He found that after some time, this child who was a troublemaker, slowly he started to change with the group dynamics theory. So he developed this theory that the group impacts the individual. Imam Ali alayhi salam mentioned this, but not in these fancy terms, group dynamics theory, all that. He said, you should either become a alim or you should hang out with the ulama and learn from them so that you can, inshallah, have a success in dunya and in the akhirah. Or do not be among those. This is the third group of people. They go with every flow. Whatever place you put them, they go with that place. They go with that fashion. I see sometimes some people coming from Muslim countries as students. When they first arrive here, mashallah, the hijab is good, everything is good. Slowly, mashallah, the hijab is taken off, khalas, and then the boy comes at the beginning, Husayniyah, Salat, shway, mashallah, slowly, khalas, he goes, la Salat, la Siyam, la Hajj, nothing, no Sayah. Just went with the flow. This shows this individual did not have a very strong foundation and base. That's why it's important for us to build the base and the foundation. Strong base, strong foundation. Once you have a strong base, strong foundation, no matter what happens, nothing will move you. Al-Hajjaj ibn Yusuf al-Thaqafi brought, one day he told his followers, he was sitting down, he says, find me a Shi'i so I can slaughter him. A Shi'i to slaughter him. This is what he wants to slaughter, a Shi'i. They told him, today we don't see any Shi'i more than Qambar. Qambar, the servant of Imam Ali alayhi salam. You want top-notch Shi'i? He says, then bring me Qambar. So they brought Qambar. He tells him, you are Qambar? He says, yes, I am Qambar. He says, Tabarra' min Ali ibn Abi Talib. Disassociate yourself from Ali ibn Abi Talib, so I'll spare your life. Qambar looks at him, says, okay, with one condition. He says, what? He says, find me someone more God-conscious, more God-fearing, better than Ali ibn Abi Talib, and I will leave Ali ibn Abi Talib and follow them. Now, Qambar presented a logical argument. See what he said? He said, bring me someone better than Ali, alayhi salam, I will follow him. Yani he didn't say, I'm not going to, no, I will stick to Ali ibn Abi Talib. He presented Allah. So what should have been the response? the response in a logical way, like, yes, there is someone, so and so, you follow this person, or no, there isn't, خلاص, then you can follow. صحيح? But what did Hajjaj say? There is no answer. So he says, اضربوا عنقه. خلاص, kill him. There is no answer. So just kill him. So they killed him, Radwanullahi ta'ala alayh. That's when the aqidah is strong. Even if you see the sword and you see Hajjaj, you still are strong. Okay? This is the strong base. How do we build a strong base, brothers and sisters? As I told you a few nights ago, those 10 things, do you remember them? What did I say? Those 10 things? On Laylatul Qadr? Yeah, you probably forgot some of them, The akhlaq and the taqwa Allah Azza wa Jal, Salatul Layl, Dua, Ziyat Ashura, Dua al-Ahad. These things increase our faith in Allah, whether we like it or we don't, because we're creating an environment of submission to Allah. Quran, Dhikrullah, Istighfar, Salawat, Salatul Layl, and so on and so forth. Attending majalis, listening to lectures from reputable speakers. This increases our aqidah, strengthens us. So then when the tide comes, we're very strong. That's one. Second, inshallah, let's take a look at what the Imam Salamullah alayh also says. He, Salamullahi alayh, says, when it comes to speaking, الْمَرْءُ مَخْبُوءٌ تَحْتَ لِسَانِهِ. Every human being is hiding under his tongue. What does it mean? Yani he's going to slip. He's going to have some slips, and that will tell you really who he is. In front of people, he might come out as muttaqi, God-fearing, he is a good person. One day, some situation might happen, something might happen, he'll say a word, he'll make a statement. From that statement, you'll know what kind of a person he is. I was once at a place, I won't mention where. In that place, there was a center. People, followers of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, used to come to that center. In that place, they used to have iftar every night in the month of Ramadan. So people would come. One day, after the iftar and the evening at night, we were at somebody's house. One person said, we should stop having iftar every night. Like, why not? Why? This is a good thing. It's good to have iftar every night. Because these poor people come and attend with us to eat. I told him, okay, what's wrong with that? Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam used to feed everyone, the rich and the poor. It's barakah, the majlis of Imam al-Hussein. First of all, it is Husayniyah. This is not your house. In your house, you can invite whomever you want. But when it's a Husayniyah, everyone comes to the Husayniyah. He says, no, we should build a separate Husayniyah for these guys. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? Subhanallah. I was shocked. هذا مؤمن. This is like a Shi'i. This is madhab of Ahlul Bayt alayhim as-salam. They go Husayniyat. He goes to Husayniyah regularly. I was shocked. People have this kind of a mentality, wal-'iyadhu billah. And don't be surprised. There are people who have that kind of mentality. There are people in some Husayniyas, they have a spot. For example, he sits here. If someone comes and sits in his spot, he gets very angry. He goes and complains to the administration that somebody today sat in my spot. Put a parking label, reserved. Wal-'iyadhu billah, takabbur, there is this arrogance, wal-'iyadhu billah, it's hidden. When he says something, you'll catch it. Then you'll catch it. Eventually, you'll catch it. Imam Ali alayhi salam, what a beautiful statement. Al-mar'u makhbu'un tahta lisan. Interestingly, there is a journal called Psychology Today. In that journal, look at this heading of this publication. This publication was published on November 1st, 2022, just about a couple of years ago. Look at the heading. Did I really just say that? Our conversations are sprinkled with slips, pauses, lies, and clues to our inner world. Here is what we reveal when we speak, whether we mean to or not. This is in 2022. Did you hear the title? What did Imam alayhi salam say 1400 years ago? Exactly the same thing. But this is packaged in a nice way. Did I really just say that? The packaging is different. The essence is the same. Our conversations, I'll repeat you, are sprinkled with slips, pauses, lies, and clues to our inner world. Inside. مخبوء تحت لسانه. Here is what we reveal when we speak, whether we mean to or not. This is the title. And then the actual article starts discussing the details. That's what the Imam said 1400 years ago. You see, psychology is there in the words of Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam. What does this mean? He, salamullah alayh, tells us a treatment. أصلح ما بينك وبين الله. Fix what's between you and Allah. Then Allah will fix what's between you and the people. What does that mean? It means train yourself to always be good, to be kind, not to have a double face, because one day you'll be caught. من أصلح سريرته مضمون الرواية أصلح الله علانيته. If you fix your inside, your inner world, then your outer world would also be good. The same image, not difference. They say one of the ulama, and to men, you like this one. One of the ulama had 4 wives. One of the ulama had 4 wives. It is said that all 4 of his wives used to pray jama'ah behind him. Yani all 4 of them believe in his adala. All 4 of them believe in his adala. Yani this is how difficult it is. They all see him adil. Sometimes there is a man who might have 1 wife, and when it comes to Salat al-Jama'ah, she says, I will not pray behind you. People, they don't know your ins and outs. I'm your wife. I know exactly all your ins and outs. I know who you are. I'm not going to pray behind you. He had 4, but this demonstrates taqwa Allah. He was muttaqi. Although he had 4 wives, how difficult it is, but he managed to treat each one of them with God consciousness. Not easy. But when you do it in the house, khalas, it's reflected outside. Imagine what he's like outside. What he is like outside. One of the ulama visited another alim. They visited another alim. And they had a discussion, a heated discussion. So the alim who was visiting the other one insulted him. And the alim who was insulted was very socially popular, His people were sitting down, his followers were sitting down. He's just been insulted by this alim who is not as popular socially. This alim who's popular, who's good, comes and kisses down the hand of the other alim and apologizes to him. The one who was insulted bends down, kisses the hand of the other one who insulted him and apologized and said, I am sorry. They hugged each other out and said, no problem, no, it's okay. And he went and left. Then this alim turned to his people. He said, you're probably surprised, why did I do what I did? They said, yes, you should have insulted him back. He attacked you. He disrespected you. And he's visiting you. He's your guest, you're the host, and he's disrespecting you. He told them, you know what happened? They said, what? He said, the minute he said that word of insult, I became angry. My nafs al-awamatu bis-su' immediately got angry and told me to reply back. Say the same thing to him. But then I paused for a second. I told my nafs, I'm not going to listen to you. I will do what's right. I will not. You're not the boss. I am the boss. Nafsul ammarati bis-su', this evil commanding self. You don't dictate to me what to do. My aql dictates to me what to do. So I am going to kiss his hand. This is now all within a matter of seconds. All this is happening within milliseconds. But this is how he's trained himself to restrain himself So then when my nafsul ammara, my evil commanding self, when I told it that I'm going to kiss his hand, it said, no, 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 don't kiss the hand. Okay, don't apologize. Don't apologize. Don't attack back, but don't kiss. He said, I'm going to kiss his hand to teach you a lesson. Next time, stay out of my business. So I bent down, I kissed his hand, I apologized. So this way, I am in charge. This is the third point that Imam Salamullah alayhi mentions. Imam says, listen to this one. إن لم تكن حليما فتحلم فإنه قل من تشبه بقوم إلا أوشك أن يكون منهم. If you cannot manage your anger, then behave, act as if you can manage your anger. تحلم, يعني act it out. Because it is rare for a person, it is rare, who tries to imitate another group of people, but he becomes like them. Again, this also relates back to the group dynamics theory. When you start imitating a group of people, then eventually you'll be one of them. That's why it's important to have good friends, brothers and sisters. Make sure you're with a good group of friends. Otherwise, they will start influencing you and you'll start changing without realizing. Imam Ali alayhi salam says, so if you have anger management problems, start counting in the day, how many times do I get angry? 10 times, for example. Say, okay, 10 times I get angry every day. For little things. Okay, tomorrow I need to watch myself. Not 10 times, I have to reduce it to 8 times. Okay. So the minute you hit 8, you say, khalas, now I have to really watch myself. Once you make it, once you go through that 24 hours and only 8 times, you're going to feel so proud of yourself. You'll feel that I accomplished it. I did it. I managed to beat my record 10 times, 8 times. That's 20% improvement. Great. That feeling of gratification and happiness, that joy, keep it in mind. Psychologists say that feeling should be your driving force so that tomorrow you should also not get angry. Try to go for 7. Then try to go for 6. That feeling should be your driving, that reward. The reward that I did it, I managed to do it. Then you will succeed. There is a book called The Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg. He says, this is how you can change your habit. It's a bestseller book. Imam Ali alayhi salam is saying it, but in a different language. Again, simple language, not the power of habit and all that stuff. When you imitate a group of people, it will become a habit. Khalas, you'll become like them. You have an anger management problem, slowly. The other day when I said to some mu'mineen, I said, whenever you get angry, punish yourself, penalize, give $10. One man came to me the next day, he said, I started doing this. I told him, mashallah, yallah, prepare your jar. Good donation to the Husayniyya afterwards, mashallah. Okay. So he says, no, it's a good technique. Then I started being a bit more mindful. Again, these are all strategies. See which strategy works for you. If you become angry, say to yourself, I'm going to punish myself. What's the punishment? I'm going to pay $10 or $20. You put it in a jar. Khalas, that's not my money anymore. Give it sadaqah, give it charity, give it to the Husayniyya. After 5-6 times, that's like $120, now in the jar. So if I go like this, I'm going to become broke. So I better watch myself. So then you start watching yourself and slowly, slowly you'll cut down your habit. So these are strategies. Thinking of the reward, how successful, how happy you are, the gratification of managing to reduce your anger to 8 times instead of 10 times, for example. That gratification will start to motivate you, encourage you. If I did it, then I can succeed. And there is a riwayah, ما ضعف جسد على ما عزمت عليه النية. Every time, whatever determination you make, your body can go through it. In other words, if there is a will, there is a way. There is a way. So the Imam is mentioning all this. Salamullah alayhi. Last one, brothers and sisters, and this one is a big one. Mental health problems. How many of us have mental health? Let me read you this statistics. This was published again by Psychology Today by a senior lecturer at Swansea University. His name is Darren Edwards. This was published in August 9, 2022. Listen to what he says. Pay attention. There is a silent worldwide mental health epidemic, but few people talk about it due to stigma. As a result, and little effort to tackle the problem at a societal level, mental health is not just avoided in conversation, but it is also normalized in society. This is in 2022. Okay? This is post-COVID. Okay? The prevalence, now listen to the statistics. The prevalence of mental health problems is shocking, with approximately 251 to 310 million people suffering from depression. 300 million people, that's like the population of the United States of America. And 275 million from anxiety disorder globally. The cost of mental health problems to the global economy by 2030 is predicted to amount to $16 trillion. Depression is estimated to outpace ischemic heart disease. Did you hear that, doctor? There is competition now. Depression is estimated to outpace ischemic heart disease as the #1 cause of disease burden globally by 2030. In another statistics by World Health Organization, they say, وَالْعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ, 800,000 people commit suicide every year. 800. When I did the math, I divided it. 800,000 people divided by the number of minutes in the year. It turns out every 40 seconds, not even a minute, every 40 seconds, a person commits suicide. وَالْعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ. Can you imagine? يعني in this lecture of ours, this 1 hour, how many people would have committed suicide? وَالْعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ. See how serious it is? Why? Of course, sometimes it requires mental intervention. Sometimes it requires, because there's a difference between feeling depressed and depression. Depression is a disorder, which may require mental intervention. Feeling depressed, we all experience it. You know, you have a bad day, you feel, feeling the blues, feeling down. The problem is if it starts persisting until now it starts interfering with your daily tasks. You don't sleep well, you don't eat well, you don't go to work, you lose appetite, insomnia, now it's depression. Okay. It sometimes requires medical intervention. You have to go see some therapist. When it's in its early stages, turn to the dhikr of Allah. The Salatul Layl, Ziyarat Ashura, Istighfar. We have riwayat. When you have a lot of problems, do a lot of istighfar. Inshallah, that will remove them away from you. What does Imam Ali alayhi salam say? In his letter to his son, Imam al-Hasan alayhi salam, he says, Usika bi taqwa Allahi ay bunay. I advise you of taqwa Allah, be God conscious. Waluzumi amrih, following his commands, yani follow the wajibat. وعمارة قلبك بذكره, and fill your heart with his remembrance. ذكر الله عز وجل. What does Allah say about ذكر الله? ألا بذكر الله تطمئن القلوب. With the remembrance of Allah, hearts find peace and tranquility. On the contrary, in Surah Taha, وَمَنْ أَعْرَضَ عَنْ ذِكْرِي فَإِنَّ لَهُ مَعِيشَةً ضَنْكًا. Whomever does not follow my dhikr, yani my ahkam, my rules, the Ahlul Bayt, will have a suffocating life. There is a direct quote. This is Quran. The more you hold on to your strong faith, you hold on to Ahlul Bayt, you hold on to your salat, dua, istighfar, salawat, ziyarat ashura, salatul layl. The more you hold on to this, then inshallah, the more dhikr, the easier it will be for you to face the difficulties and the challenges. It does not mean they will go away, but you know that Allah is there for you. Allah listens. Allah will answer you. And hence this will make us feel really well. I'll finish with this, brothers and sisters. There was a alim, big alim. His name is Allama al-Tabrasi, قدس الله نفسه الزكية, who wrote a tafsir of Quran. Tafsir Majma' al-Bayan by Allama al-Tabrasi. What's the story behind that tafsir? Allama al-Tabrasi one day got a heart attack. He fell. They came, they checked his pulse. There was no pulse. They thought he's dead. So they did his ghusl, they did his kafan, and they put a nice kafan. He's a alim, big alim. And they buried him. They buried him. At night, he woke up. It was a heart attack. He was not dead. But at the time, they did not have these machines to measure the pulse and all that sensitive stuff. They came, they checked, no pulse. I spoke to some specialists. There are cases when your heart rate can go very low heart rate, such that you don't feel. You think someone is dead unless you have the machines to test. So they buried him. Now imagine this is you. You wake up, or us. We wake up, we're in the qabr, wrapped in the kafan, and dark everywhere. في الظلمات. He started, shouting, but again, he was tired. He had a heart attack, so he did not have a lot of strength. Whatever strength he had, anybody, no one, middle of the night, khalas, who's going to come for him? So then, all the doors now are closed, but there is one door that's open. Which door is this? Allah. This is dua. At that point, he turned to Allah. He said, Ya Rab, I make a nadhr. Lillahi alay, nadhr. If you save me from this, I will write a tafsir of the Quran. He was a alim. Long and behold, he hears a shuffle. Someone is digging. Back in those days, wal-'iyadu billah, there were people who used to steal kafan. Wal-'iyadu billah. They used to steal kafan. They wait for someone to be buried. They come at night. They take the kafan and they go, they sell it. Wal-'iyadu billah. And this is a good kafan because this is alim. This is like a big alim. So the kafan has got some good value probably. So this thief is digging. Little does he know that this so-called mayyit is alive. He's not mayyit. Good lesson for him. Sometimes Allah teaches people. So when he heard this, Allama al-Tabrasi kept quiet. He said, if I make noise right now, this guy will get scared and run away. So he kept quiet until he finished. He finished. He came to open the kafan. He held his hand. They exchanged places. Catches his hand. He tells him, don't worry. I am not dead. I am not dead. I am al-Allama al-Tabrasi. I am so-and-so. I was buried thinking that I was dead, but I'm not dead. Take me to my family and I will give you some reward. I'll give you some money. So he carried him. So this thief carried al-Allama al-Tabrasi. Again, he had a heart attack. He was weak. There was not much oxygen there. He was slowly suffocating. So he carried him to the house. He gave him some money and recovered and wrote Tafsir Majma' al-Bayan. So dua help. When you have this kind of hope in Allah, will you get depressed? If you did not have Allah, if he did not have Allah, what would have happened? Khalas. He would have just been depressed the whole time until he would have died suffocating. That's why we always call upon Allah. وَذَنُّونِ إِذْ ذَهَبَ مُغَاضِبًا فَظَنَّ أَن لَّن نَّقْدِرَ عَلَيْهِ فَنَادَى فِي الظُّلُمَاتِ أَن لَّا إِلَهَ إِلَّا أَنْتَ سُبْحَانَكَ إِنِّي كُنتُ مِنَ الظَّالِمِينَ. This is the dua of Yunus ala nabiyina wa alayhi salam. Read it when you're feeling depressed a little bit. Subhan, la ilaha illa ant, subhanaka inni kuntu min al-zalimin. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to increase our knowledge about the words of Imam Ali alayhi salam, increases our hidayah insha'Allah, increases our iman insha'Allah, make us among those whom he is very pleased with in dunya and in the akhirah, and grant us his forgiveness insha'Allah. Raise your hands quickly. It is now almost in about a minute or two the time of adhan. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أمن يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء 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 أمن يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء. اللهم اغفر ذنوبنا يا الله، كفر عنا سيئاتنا وتوفنا مع الأبرار. اللهم إن لم تكن قد رضيت عنا إلى هذا اليوم وهذه الساعة في هذا الشهر، ففي هذه الساعة نسألك بمحمد وآل محمد أن ترضى عنا يا الله، وأن تعتق رقابنا من النار يا الله، وأن تحشرنا مع محمد وآله الأطهار. اللهم اقض حوائج المؤمنين والمؤمنات، شاف وعاف جميع مرضى المؤمنين والمؤمنات، اغفر لنا ولوالدينا ولأولادنا، واجعلنا من الصالحين المؤمنين المتقين المسلمين لأمرك الراضين بقضائك. اللهم عجل لوليك الفرج، واجعلنا من شيعته وأنصاره وأعوانه والمستشهدين بين يديه. اللهم كن لوليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا، حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين، لقضاء الحوائج وشفاء المرضى وكشف هذه الغمة عن هذه الأمة، ولتعجيل فرج مولانا صاحب العصر والزمان. وإلى أرواح أمواتنا وأمواتكم وأموات الباذلين والمساهمين والمؤسسين والمشاركين والمشاهدين، وإلى أرواح الشهداء والعلماء. رحم الله من يقرأ السورة المباركة الفاتحة مع الصلوات. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.